Hey, good afternoon. It's 2:40 p.m. on May 25th, 2024. I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley with Texas Storm Chasers and the Texas Weather Center. You're watching live on the Facebook page for Texas Storm Chasers and the YouTube channel for Texas Weather Center. I'm not going to put this discussion on every single platform we have possible, but I just wanted to give you all an afternoon update. We're trying to do this a little more often. We have a tornado watch that's in effect until 9 p.m. across parts of Big Country, the Concho Valley, down to northwestern Hill Country, across Interstate 20, almost to Weatherford. That's a Palo Pinto included there. So, I mean, this is pretty early for this tornado watch, but we have had pretty rigorous thunderstorm development very super duper early out here in parts of Big Country to western North Texas. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what we have going on already. Again, this is way early, so again, I apologize if there's a latency between my microphone and my webcam. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Could be my computer, could be my microphone, or the webcam. But at least everything looks to be working, so again, my apologies if there is a latency there. I want to just thank you for tuning in this afternoon. Again, we have storms already underway. We have a tornado watch. First of probably a few, at least across the country. Now, we're probably going to have a tornado watch, if not even a PDS tornado watch in North Texas, Texoma, Oklahoma, western and central Oklahoma, up to Kansas. That might be one or two tornado watches and or PDS tornado watches. We have a fairly significant tornado threat, a moderate risk in Oklahoma and Kansas. The enhanced risk, 10% hatched tornado risk, extends into portions of North Texas. We're not under the major risk for tornadoes as compared to Oklahoma and Kansas and Texas, but still significant, even if it's not maxed out like maybe Oklahoma and Kansas could be. Still a formidable threat. So we have a severe thunderstorm already southwest of Abilene, northeast of Blackwell and Wingate. This is already showing supercellular characteristics. So, instead of going through the HRRR and seeing what the HRRR is doing, well, throw it out. I said this yesterday, and I guess I have to say it again. Forget looking at the HRRR at this point, because it's completely rubbish. It's wrong. We have a severe thunderstorm already well underway southwest of Abilene. I doubt any convective allowing models have even indicated storms going up this early. It's 2:43 now Central Time. We've already broken the cap across many parts of Texas. We have a supercell thunderstorm already underway southwest of Abilene, north of Blackwell, north of Wingate. That's going to probably try to turn due east toward Tuscola, maybe Lawn, Texas. That's where the strongest part of the storm will be. Now, large damaging hail is going to be the main threat. For now, we do have a tornado watch, but it's not a super maxed out tornado probability watch. We'll look at the state of the atmosphere here shortly. Let's just look at what we have going on right now. It's a severe thunderstorm warning. This is probably the most impactful storm as we're talking about this now. It's going to probably miss Abilene unless something crazy happens. It should turn east and kind of come toward Buffalo Gap, Tuscola, and Lawn, Texas. If we go ahead and look at the velocity values here, let's just go ahead and look at that. Yeah, it's very early in development here as far as supercells go. We have a pretty interesting reflectivity signature. We don't have anything super crazy of a... Let's get to the right one here. Yeah, I mean, this is going to take some time. Again, we'll look at the environment here shortly, but this is going to take some time to really get developed. Might be coming within the next 30 to 45 minutes by the time it really starts to blossom, erode against the cap. But we don't see anything super crazy for velocities. Let's go ahead and take a look at correlation coefficient. Now let's look at enhanced echo tops. There we go. We have maxed out tops already here, so the tops of the thunderstorms are already super high, and in fact they're so high we can't even detect how high they are by radar. They're above the radar beams, so over 60,000, probably pushing 65 to 70,000 foot tops on this storm. So yeah, it's certainly broken the cap, and that means we're going to have large damaging hail soon. We'll look at what the tornado threat may be here in the short term as we look at mesoanalysis here shortly. But yeah, keep an eye on the storm, Buffalo Gap, Tuscola, Lawn. And you can always monitor these storms with our free mobile weather app, Texas Storm Chasers. It's free. So, Abilene, I think you're clear from this storm. Now let's look farther north into parts of western North Texas, northwest Texas. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings up here. Time is 2:46. We have a severe thunderstorm capable of damaging hail south of Seymour. And let's look at where it's going. It seems to be turning more eastward, so that might miss Seymour. Seymour, you'll probably get rain and thunder, but the most concerning part of this thunderstorm here with the hail core, frequent lightning, seems to be curling more toward the east here, so McGargle. Between Seymour and Throckmorton, honestly, not a whole lot going on population-wise. So we're only worried about the travelers, at least in the short term, between Seymour and Throckmorton. But this organizing supercell will kind of head over to McGargle area. That's fun to say, McGargle. And further north, also kind of in between 2 major, relatively bigger population centers, is this thunderstorm capable of large damaging hail. It looks to be organizing, and it should turn a little more right toward the east in Miss Crowell. It's north of Benjamin. So yeah, we're just going to have to see how these continue on in their environment now. This is pretty interesting, just how early stuff has gone up. In fact, these storms are already popping up north of the tornado watch, so they might have to issue another tornado watch for that activity. And this is not even the main activity that we were expecting. We're looking at more closer to dinner time for the development of thunderstorms. Seems to be kind of a earlier than models have predicted theme as of late. So yeah, all of these thunderstorms will be capable of large damaging hail and some gusty winds. Tornado threat, yeah, we do have tornado threat. The major tornado threat is really not going to be in place until this evening when the low-level jet kicks in. So not all too sure if these are going to begin producing at least many tornadoes. We have maybe a tornado threat early on with this, but not the more maxed out tornado threats that we were probably going to see later on today. So yeah, paint me a little bit of a surprise here. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the state of the atmosphere with our current mesoanalysis. And as just like yesterday, just a moment. Just like yesterday, things are pretty maxed out with instability. 5,500 to 6,000 joules per kilogram of instability or CAPE, convective allowing. Let's try that again. Convective available potential energy. I use convective allowing too much, so it's convective available potential energy is CAPE in joules per kilogram. We can derive the units later. We have severe weather to deal with now. Again, extreme instability. That means thunderstorms are going to develop fast. Hey, as you just saw, within the last 30 minutes, those thunderstorms have gone from 0 to hero, and not in a good way. So large damaging hail, pretty much a guarantee, given that these thunderstorms are already 60 to maybe 65,000 feet above the ground, the tops of the thunderstorms. We're going to have rotating updrafts capable of propelling those hailstones, keeping them in the updraft for long periods of time, and becoming larger and larger and larger. So yeah, we're going to be talking about baseballs, softballs, maybe DVDs in terms of hail size. Damaging hail, very certain, especially with these storms. These storms are going to be relatively elevated in nature, I would assume. Let's look at the latest observations here. And with our temperatures in the mid-90s and our dew points around 70, those are going to be fairly high bases. The farther apart your temperature and your dew point are, the higher the bases are off the ground. When you get those more saturated environments where the dew point is close to the temperature, you get bases very low. We saw a lot of that yesterday when temperatures were only in the 80s during initiation across DFW, and dew points were in the mid-70s. So the temperature dew point spread was lower. The bases were lower. With all this stuff going on now, the bases are a lot higher. We have 25-degree dew point to temperature spreads. That's going to make those storm bases much higher. Well, you can get tornadoes, but it's a lot more difficult to get tornadoes when your storm bases are higher off the ground. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, storms having to do extra work to get the tornado all the way from, say, 5,000 feet above the ground. A lot more work to fully condense a tornado down to the ground from 5,000 feet above the ground than it is, say, 500 feet above the ground sometimes, especially on these very tropical air masses. So, yes, I mean, it's humid, there's moisture, but the temperatures are in the mid-90s out here. So, yeah, bases are going to be high. Tornado potential is going to be lower for now. I'm not saying there's no tornado threat, because with the amount of shear we have, anything can happen. We're going to look at that shear now. We have kind of bullseye, especially on these northwest Texas storms, of 65 knots of 0 to 6 kilometer wind shear across these thunderstorms. It's a lot of wind shear, easily to spin the updrafts, and you crank those updrafts, spin them up, they can produce tornadoes down the road. We'll look at helicity. Helicity, not all that huge right now. We'll say this is early, so a tornado threat I would expect to be lower right now, even though there is a tornado watch. Still watch the weather, even if it's wind-driven baseball-sized hail. That's impact to you. So, yeah, again, we have lower helicity values as of right now. Things aren't really supposed to be building up in the kind of scary department until dinner time and later. So, again, if we go ahead and look forward, this helicity values are kind of modest right now. Helicity, I know it's kind of a fancy word for basically an indication of how well a supercell can remain intact. So, supercell maintenance. Higher helicity values, you're going to maintain those supercells easier, longer. Without helicity, no, you're probably not going to get supercells. Higher helicity, more likely to sustain supercells for a longer duration. So let's look at what helicity is aiming to do over the next 6 hours. This is the meso-analysis, which goes off of the RAP model, and we see we do start blossoming them up as expected with those helicity values. We go from 100 to 300. That's going to be where we were expecting. Oh, yeah, in 4 to 6 hours, that's where we are expecting more severe, more tornadic weather across western Oklahoma and northwest Texas, north central Texas, and the Texoma. And then later on, later on today, you see what's happening here. If it would ever stay there. And, well, let's just look at that. 500 SRH, storm relative helicity. So, again, how the higher helicity is, the more likely a supercell is to sustain itself, and the stronger the supercell. And more likely the tornadoes as well. Now we have 500, that is substantial SRH or helicity in southwest Oklahoma. Also up in Kansas we're bullseyeing in 500, and that is meters squared per second squared if you're a physicist or a units person or a mathematician. It's meters squared per second squared, SRH, helicity values in the 500 range. Yeah, that's pretty wild. That's up there. That screams very strong, severe, damaging supercells with tornado potential. The 300 level does extend southward into Texas, and this kind of reflects that day one outlook. I think I could put that up there. Cha-ching. So I know there's a lot of lines, arrows, contours, but if you see that moderate risk in Oklahoma, it kind of lines up where that higher helicity is 500, 400, 500 up in Oklahoma. Just 300. Well, just 300 is still sufficient for storms and tornadoes across northwest Texas in a big country. So again, forget what the HERS says because we already have supercells underway in big country to northwest Texas. Not happy about it. I know David Reimer's not happy about it, but he will be providing live weather coverage here probably sooner than later. Again, I'm going to try to provide these live weather briefings while the children are napping in the afternoon. Kind of add some dimension to the channels. You know, I get some live. I might mess up every now and then or have an awkward pause, but we're doing this live here, and yeah, so expect some more of these during Texas severe weather events or upcoming severe weather events from me while the kids are in a nap time or daycare. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen at this point, because again, thunderstorms are already rapidly erupting. Now, maybe not the hail core we expected on this storm. It's still going, but perhaps we're seeing some capping issues. This hail core is kind of coming down on that Abilene area storm. So that's good. We like to see that. Abilene, you are in parts of the severe thunderstorm warning now, but I think the storm is kind of turned to the due east. Let's look at our northwest Texas, folks. This storm's split, so hooray, we get to talk about storm splits again. And the storm is split, so we see two distinct cells now, what started from one. I'll try to answer your question in the Discord here after I'm done with this. But this storm between Seymour and Throckmorton is split. Send off a left split. Here's the left split up here, L for left. It's shooting more to the left of the deviant motion, deviating left of the original motion. West of Seymour, it's going to fly toward the Oklahoma border before come up with whatever analogy you want there. I'm not as quick with the quips, but the right mover is going to move slower and move more eastward toward McGargle. So we'll see what happens with this stuff. Still not terribly concerned in the very short term as far as even hail concerns go. Switch radars here momentarily. Look at that. Cleaner imagery here. And we also still have a thunderstorm very near Crawl. Now, large damaging hail with that might pass very close to Crawl, if not just south of Crawl. Let's see if it's turning. Is it turning? It's slowing down. It looks like it might try to move more to the right or move toward the east. But Crawl, heads up, you might have a hailer if not in town, just south of town. Again, as I said, tornado potential right now. I'm not too optimistic about tornadoes with spreads between the temperature and the dew point, 25 degrees. It's going to make those spaces real high, real tall. Maybe some gustnados, yes. I'm not going to really go into the definition of gustnados, but if you've heard of those before, yeah, Those can happen with more elevated storms, more surface outflow related processes that can spin up little vortices called gustnados. Those don't really do anything. Land spouts can provide some weak damage potential. Those land spouts can be tricky to forecast. When you get more elevated storms, they seem to kind of pop up with the thunderstorm development. So maybe a land spout or two, maybe some gustnados. Watch out for large damaging hail, but as of right now, mesocyclonic supercell tornadoes, like super scary stuff, still not concerned at this moment. So that is all I have for this live weather briefing. David Reimer will be back later. I will say back. He was here yesterday doing coverage for 4.5-5 hours. We have a tornado watch until 9 across Big Country, Concho Valley, Northwest Hill Country, Western North Texas, and again till 9 p.m. This is not a PDS tornado watch. The PDS, it's been thrown around maybe haphazardly as of late. There's been a lot of PDS watches or warnings. There's been a tornado emergency apparently yesterday for a tornado, just a tornado. I'm not even sure it hit anything. There was a tornado emergency up in New Boston, Texas. Let's not ask David how he feels about that. But again, David Reimer, no doubt, will be here later on this evening, later on this afternoon probably, with live weather coverage. We have chasers Stephen Jones, Adam Lucio, Chelsea Burnett, Trey Greenwood, Alex Bartholomew, probably Brett Wright, Jenny Brown. Yeah, I think all of our chasers are out today. Blake Brown, Jenny Brown, yeah, they're all about from northwest Texas through Oklahoma up into southern Kansas. So we have multi-state coverage from a chasing perspective. Now, of course, David Reimer is going to give you everything, only Texas for the most part. Maybe brief little mentions of Oklahoma because they're the neighbors, but again, Texas being the main hyper-focus of David Reimer's coverage, you'll be finding that later on this afternoon, maybe evening hours. So that's all I've got for you. I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley. I've got to go to work, and then I'll be finding myself out on the road in North Texas afterwards. So keep an eye on the sky with our free Texas Storm Chasers mobile weather app, or you can hang out on the YouTube 24/7 radar stream. It's fun. It's got music. It's got radar. It's got the warnings as they come. You get the little it's fun. We usually have a little live chat popping in there too. So lots of ways to keep connected with the Texas Storm Chasers, even if David Reimer's not on camera at the moment. And we try to answer questions in the live chat or on our Facebook posts as they come in. We do our best. I know there's a lot of fans. We appreciate each and every one of you and try to get back to all the questions we can. But with everything going on, my apologies if we overlook some. There's a lot of folks here. So I want to thank you all for following us here on the Texas Storm Chasers, all of our social media, and on our YouTube, Texas Weather Center, folks that read the website and have the mobile weather app. So that's it for me. Tornado watch until 9. There will be another tornado watch later on today, and it could be PDS. North Texas, Texoma. Honestly, I'm not the SBC, but they might include DFW in that tornado watch later on. So DFW not out of the woods. We have millions of people. We have hundreds of thousands of followers in the DFW Metroplex. Yes, dangerous weather probably near and after dark in DFW. Now, all this stuff firing up early does kind of throw a curveball, but again, we'll see what is going on The SBC will issue a new outlook, but don't be surprised if you get in a tornado watch once again, DFW Metroplex. But I expect the worst of the tornado activity to be a little bit north of the Metroplex, just based off of the parameters and what the cams have shown. Again, the helicity values are more primed up in Oklahoma. So, yeah, DFW, I'm sure you're going to get the red box of doom, panic button scare sometime during dinner. That's a distinct possibility. So, again, pretty high alert for some tornadoes, especially later on when the helicity values grow and when the storm bases drop. That's going to probably be more prime time after 6 p.m. all the way till midnight for some tornadoes. Some could be strong. Strong tornadoes are EF2 and greater. When we say strong tornadoes, EF2 or greater. Tornadoes, EF0 to EF5 tornadoes. Strong tornadoes, we're talking about EF2 to EF5. So, in case I've seen some people ask like what the difference is. Yes, a tornado is strong. Yeah, it's a strong rotating column of air. But when we say strong tornadoes in that context, it means EF2 to EF5. Violent tornadoes, while I'm on this topic, would be EF4 or EF5. Violent category is EF4, EF5, catastrophic damage. And we haven't seen an EF5 in 11 years. So, that's in the United States, the entire United States. I mean, across the globe even. I mean, I don't think there's been technically EF5 across the globe in 11 years. So let's not do that today. We have a moderate risk in Oklahoma and Kansas. We have an enhanced max risk in North Texas into the big country, and it does include the DFW Metroplex. So I've said this earlier in a post. It doesn't matter about these risk levels. It doesn't matter where the tornado watch is, or where the HER says it's going to happen. One storm goes up and it has the right conditions and it produces a strong to violent tornado in a city, it's going to be a national headline. So we already have more storms than any of the cams said we were going to have, especially this early on. So again, I admit, tornado forecasting is not an exact science. And these outlooks, just because you're in an outlook doesn't mean you're guaranteed to see a storm. In fact, most of the time, if you're in a slight risk, especially, you're not going to see a storm. I'm sorry, yeah, we're telling you there's a chance. That doesn't say every single person in the risk area is going to see a storm at all. It is possible, and the greater the risk, the more likely it is. But we have a categorical moderate level 4 to 5 in Oklahoma today into Kansas. But I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of folks, especially in that moderate risk in Oklahoma, that are like, well, my house didn't get hit by a tornado, so what's with this forecast? Nope, that's not how it works. This is not how it works. When you're in a moderate risk, that means you have, for tornadoes, a 15% chance of tornadoes within 25 miles of your location. It does not mean you have 80% chance of tornadoes or 100% chance. A high risk is a 30% chance of a tornado within 25 miles. So it doesn't even guarantee a 30% chance of a tornado at your location. It's a higher risk would be high risk is 30% chance of a tornado nearby within 25 miles. But I mean, a tornado can be a quarter mile wide and completely destroy everything in its path. And if it's 25 miles away, well, yeah, it did nothing to you. So there's my operational meteorology rant for the day. I've got to go to work. I already said I was signing off, so I'm going to do that. David Reimer, catch them later. If not, you know what? Hold the phone. We got a report. I know I'm not watching the chat. You might have already yelled at me. Funnel Cloud 308 2 minutes ago. Funnel Cloud. I was going to sign off. Had a brief funnel cloud last 2 minutes. About 7 miles to the west of this highway north of Throckmorton. Luckily, not a lot of stuff happening out here, but this storm, this is the right split. It is turned more to the east, and these right splits typically can really blossom, become mega hailers, tornado producers. So I'm not going to do coverage. I'm going to save that for David Reimer. And I'm watching to see if David says he's going live. He hasn't. Now this could very well be an elevated type storm, but especially with the temperatures in the low to mid 90s here and the dew point's only about 70. Yeah, those are high bases, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to fully extend a tornado down to the ground, especially with the low helicity analyzed on the RAP mesoanalysis. But if you look at the reflectivity, it's definitely got a pretty sweet look. Sweet as in scary, really. Sweet for weather nerds. We have this flying eagle look here. The flying eagle, indicative of a stronger supercell. So someone's reported a funnel for 2 minutes long northwest of Throckmorton. So no tornado warning at this time. Again, I'm not terribly concerned. We're going to have tornadoes, especially anything strong, anytime soon with those temperatures still being a little too high. Yeah, definitely I'm going to sign off. I don't want to hold you guys hostage. I know this information might be invaluable. Storm southwest of Abilene shows signs of weakening. So our northwest Texas storms with the higher helicity maybe trying to build up there might be the more impressive storms now. So the cap was supposed to hold a little better down to the south, and maybe that's why that storm is struggling now southwest Abilene. These storms not struggling, at least in the hail department. Seymour, you got missed by the left and the right split. They split, and you missed it. So good for Seymour. But, yeah. Hailers for now. Tornado potential later. Tornado watch until 9 still for Big Country. That includes Ashburmont, Haskell, Throckmorton, Newcastle, Anson, Albany, Abilene, Sweetwater, Eastland, sorry Larry, Ranger, Stephenville, Comanche, Brownwood, Santa Ana, Coleman. I know y'all are just tired of getting tornado watches and storms pounding on your door, but it's been busy. So, again, I'm not terribly concerned at the moment for any crazy, scary impacts to life and property. So, yeah, I've got to drive to work here in about 20 minutes, so I'm going to sign off and get ready to go. David Reimer's got your back with live coverage later. Free mobile weather app, Texas Storm Chasers, get that. And you can always watch that 24/7 stream on YouTube, Texas Weather Center. It's got music, radar, warnings, warning tones, live cams as you see in the bottom left that I have. You'll see those cameras as well. Monitoring the weather in Dallas. So I'm going for real this time, and watch for David Reimer later on this afternoon to evening. I'm meteorologist Jason Cooley signing off. Y'all have a good, safe rest of your afternoon, Memorial Day weekend. God bless everybody. God bless our soldiers, and we remember all of the folks that have served in combat. So again, thank you very much. Y'all have a blessed night. Be safe. Stay tuned with Texas Storm Chasers.